Hello, welcome back to a conversation on the future I want. And this is an opportunity for all of us to exchange ideas and insights, experiences, and knowledge about concepts that we often take for granted. One is the idea of wealth. The second is the idea of poverty. Is there a relationship between poverty and wealth? And do you think there is or ought to be a relationship between wealth and poverty? What is wealth anyway? Something that we were talking about earlier on. What is poverty? What is the intersection between wealth and poverty? And I hope by now some of the people who were watching earlier have applied some thought to this idea of wealth, the idea of poverty. And all these concepts are central because if you ask a politician, for instance, which is just another human being playing on the stage that is often called politics, they say their job is to reduce the frontiers of poverty. And if you go to a businessman, they also talk about the same thing. If you go to a pastor, go to a doctor, go to a lawyer, all these concepts collapse into one: service to humanity. But what then is wealth? What then is poverty? When one says wealth is not the opposite of poverty, what do you think is meant by that statement? Does that statement speak to you? If so, in what way does it speak to you? What is your take? If you were to construct a government today, where would you start? Would you start with a government that is composed or comprised of people who think and act on your behalf? Or would you want a government of sovereigns, of men and women, inclusive of children, who individually are asserting their own God-given rights or their own gifts of nature? What is the reality of wealth? What is the reality of poverty? In fact, I had a conversation earlier with somebody who interviewed the Vice President Mnangagwa on this very issue. What did he say? So if we look at the interview that I'll play just now for you to get.
Very good day to all of you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Mr. Anil Ndlovu for the opportunity to inviting myself and my organization to this forum. And I would like to thank the VP, Comrade Mnangagwa, and the other delegates that came from Zimbabwe. My name is Tinashe Mpasiri. I'm actually a presenter with the 1873 FM, an initiative of a member-based association network called the 1873 Network. So some of the questions that I have here are questions that I posed to Mr. Anil Ndlovu on a radio interview, but he could not answer them. He stated that the VP and his delegation will be able to answer them. So some of the listeners had these questions to ask. A gentleman once remarked that the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but it is the rule of law. So that being said, this listener stated.
So if you are listening, somebody says the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but the rule of law. Would you agree with that? What is your take on that? Let's hear what former Vice President Mnangagwa said on this issue.
Absent the rule of law, development is a mirage. What is your take on that? And the other question that was posed, why invest in a country where native-born persons are running away, or investors like Makamba can't even step in? And another question that I just got a few seconds ago pertaining to ZACC, which is an institution that is addressing or trying to address this scourge called corruption. They asked whether ZACC is a partisan institution. Thank you.
Honorable Vice President, this speaker, Mr. Mpasiri, who angers a certain radio station, he had 3 questions. The first one, he was at pains to try to link the rule of law and economic development. That was his first one.
I'll do the first one first. He is correct. Where there is no rule of law, where there is no peace, where there is no order, development cannot thrive because there will be conflict. Fortunately, in our region, we have little spots of conflict here and there, but in the main, there is peace. In Zimbabwe, we are peaceful. We observe the rule of law in Zimbabwe. And what are tenets of the rule of law? Those who commit crime were arrested. They go to courts, some get discharged, some are sentenced to prisons, and there were prisons full with such people. Another tenet that we must always submit ourselves as government to elections every 5 years, and that we have complied with for the last 38 years when we became independent. That's constitutionalism. We stick to that. In fact, this is why we went to war. We lost thousands, tens and tens of thousands of our brothers and sisters, the same in South Africa, for us to be where we are today, so that we have democracy in the country, and that is there. Yes, of course, we have constraints sometimes of implementing the ideals which we have as a result of resources and as a result of sanctions that have been imposed on us. But as I already said, we feel we should not be constrained by the sanctions by those who do not want to see Africa develop, those who do not want Africans to develop. So we are now saying we will rise, and we will rise together. No one will stop us from rising.
Yes, the second question, Honorable Vice President, was this narrative. Why should we go and invest in a country whose natives are running away from?
The person is not aware why people are leaving Zimbabwe. Before 1999, no one was leaving Zimbabwe. We're happy, we're developing. But immediately we implemented land reform. And listen very carefully. We had a duty as the leadership to make sure that at the expiry of the Lancaster Constitution, where it had provisions that for the next 10 years, 10 years or so, we were not allowed to make legislation to acquire land. Anyway, to abide by that. In 1992, after the expiration of 10 years, I became Minister of Justice. And I was given the mission to bring legislation to appropriate land. So we married the land with their legitimate owners. And legitimate owners, we married their land. And we did that. That offended those who were holding our land, the British colonial settlers in our country. That's the basis on which they imposed sanctions on us. Overnight, Mr. Shinamas will be very articulate on that subject. Overnight, the lines of credit, balance of payments were cut by over 48% overnight. Projects which were running at the time came to a standstill. We lost jobs, we lost everything. There was attack on our currency and so on. So that was one of the reasons, or the major reason why people left the country. Now, if you say, why should we invest in a country? Those who still feel that they are afraid of coming into Zimbabwe, no one will be forced to come to Zimbabwe. We are appealing to those who have an understanding, who are patriotic, who think that although they are South Africans, Zimbabwe is part of them. They will come to Zimbabwe. It's a peaceful country. Their kids are there. They will have returned their capital. So that is the answer I give you, my brother.
His other question, the last one from him, was, is ZAC, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, a practicing institution?
What?
A practicing institution, or is just there? Partisan.
Okay.
Partisan.
Now, how was it created? So that you can make your own judgmental conclusion whether it's partisan or not. In terms of our legislation, we advertise for persons to apply to become commissioners into ZAC. And we use our parliament to do the interview and the selection. So many people applied. I think we had over 56 people who want to be commissioners, but I think we only need 9 or 11. That was the number of commissioners. The process was done by parliament. And from those who applied, parliament selected the best from the applicants to constitute the commission. I don't know where partisanship comes in. But if it comes in, then if we identify it, we deal with it. So far, we have not discovered the partisanship in it. It is an act which administers, which guides the operations of ZAC in the country. And also, the act is also administered in the office of the president. And I don't believe that the president is partisan. He's the president of the whole country.
For the benefit of our listeners, can you briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself?
There you go. For those who have listened, you can give me your take on the interview. And what do you think of what the former Vice President Mnangagwa said about the relationship between wealth and rule of law, poverty and rule of law? That's the focus. Kakendo OD said, I'll first of all wipe out all the bad elements who are always in for their own interest. Absent self-interest, Kakendo, what remains? Then leave only the people of Africa who have Africa at heart will be allowed to work under my government, just like the president of Tanzania is doing. Just keep on watching that president in Tanzania. He's a recipe for big disasters in Tanzania. Tanzania is going to be converted, if not transformed, to something else. And there is Africa needs to shift from Western supremacy to our own supremacy. We have lots of talented and oriented people in Africa. now who are ready to push the continent forward. Blessing Claudio, elections. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to comment in terms of poverty. And let's deal with Lord Mo Karande. You want to listen to the audio again? Is that the case, Lord Mo? You didn't catch it. And Abby Mataruse, in the spirit of transparency, Mutuma Mawere, our presenter, is a Zimbabwean businessman who benefited greatly from the indigenization program and owned some mines. Again, I'll be, you may not know that the Indigenization Act was only passed in 2007. The facts of SMM date before the indigenization program. And if you want to know how the company was acquired, I think it's always fair to say, I don't know. This idea that people know everything, even things they know nothing about, then is a Zimbabwean businessman. A businessman is just a human being. There is no such thing called a Zimbabwean businessman. I am me. Tinashe Nyamutsa, you still benefited from ZANU-PF. Yes, if there's benefit, please talk to the benefit. What is the benefit? And it's important that we deal with the benefits. And then we can also go into it. You speak in radios, okay, you speak straight. What are you saying? If you say ZANU-PF, you benefited from it. You confuse people. Who are the people? If, Tinashe, you are confused, be the person who is confused. Don't speak on behalf of other people. Getting back to Albi, he double-crossed some ZANU-PF associates at one point and fled the country. Again, please identify your facts first and be able to talk to facts. If you don't know facts, then please don't invent them. I never fled the country. And he says that I've since mended fences with ZANU-PF and is rumored to be a supporter of G40. Who is G40? Who fled the country? Who are these associates? As you watch his views, keep that in mind. Albi, you are yourself a principal. If there is anything that I'm saying that does not resonate with your worldview, say so that we can begin to talk to each other, not at each other. I have no idea of who G40 is. I have no interest in any G. I'm myself. The same way you must keep in mind that Elsie Lumumba, whose father is general in ZANU-PF, is rumored to be Lacoste. Mr. Mawere will clear up any non-truth in this statement, I'm sure. Indeed, I think that's why you are here, Albi, so that we can begin to talk to each other. Not like Tinashe, who says, I'm not confused, but other people are confused. If you are not confused, don't speak on behalf of other people. Just be yourself. Gina Eugene Majuru, true, welcome. Tinashe Nyamutsa, he says, we know you say you G40. Who is G40? It's not a worldview. Let's deal with the facts. What are the facts? Even Amai Mugabe says he doesn't know who G40 is. I am not Amai Mugabe. Amai Mugabe is a person in her own right. And naturally, she has a right to represent herself. In as much as Tinashe, you have a right to speak on your own behalf. What is in your mind is entirely yours. Nobody can penetrate it. Nobody can buy it. can steal it. So grow up, Tinashe. Be somebody. Talk on your behalf. That's why you speak in riddles. Say, if there are riddles, you don't even have to listen. There are other people who are interested in following. That's why it's social media. It gives you the right not to watch, not to listen, not to do anything even. But for you to come in and speak on behalf of other people as if you are possessed with extra knowledge or extraordinary wisdom. Yeah, if I speak in riddles, switch off, Tinashe. And if you are confused, don't use us. Say, I am confused. So please leave the space where you feel you are not able to understand. Yeah, don't use us if it's myself. Myself starts with an M. Us starts with a U. I hope you understand that. Makwere Chaona. Thank you, Mr. Mawere, for hosting the program. Zimbabwe needs dialogues so mature, and you are helping bring the Zim audience to debates in a mature way on a social media platform. Thank you. Thank you, Makwere. Yes, it's always the case that people, when they're devoid of any argument, any common sense, they resort to stone throwing, finger pointing. And this has become the characteristic of many countries, where people just wake up. Instead of staying in their lanes, they depart from their lanes. And they get into someone's lane just to prove a point. I understand fully you're confusing me very much, and your ZANU-PF confuses me. Yes, if I'm confusing you, fine. But don't make me ZANU-PF, because I don't know what it means to be ZANU-PF. If you're confused, Tinashe, just stay outside the kitchen. Nobody invited you to this forum. So if you're confused, close your ears. Don't listen on behalf of others. Don't speak on behalf of others. But you supported ZANU-PF. What does supporting ZANU-PF? Where did you last see Mr. ZANU-PF? I know who Mugabe looks like. I may not know what he thinks and what is in his mind, but I sure know who he is. I don't know everyone who is a member of ZANU-PF. I've never been a member of ZANU-PF. I have no reason to support something that doesn't exist. See people who chase those away, who disagree. I'm not chasing you away, Tinashe. You are the one who is confused. You are chasing yourself away. Don't get into areas where you are confused. Just simple. Stay away from confusion. Keep your confusion or non-confusion to yourself. You want dialogue with those who support. I don't need to be supported. I have not asked for you to be supported. You are saying, Tinashe, that you are confused by what I am saying. It doesn't mean you speak on behalf of other people who are also watching. Don't make it your business to speak on behalf of others. I have no business to chase you. I wouldn't even know whether you are watching or not. You are the one who has stepped forward so that you become either a nuisance, if that is your business in this forum, or you want something else. You want dialogue, then let's have it. But don't chase me away. I have no reason to chase you away. Muzenda Rangarira. Yes, donations. My companies, yes, they made donations. Not only to ZANU-PF members, not ZANU-PF, to MDC, to Edgar Tekere, to others. Tinashe, I'm not chasing you. Don't make an issue out of nothing. If you keep quiet and you contribute to the subject of the day, then nobody has interest in you except what you are saying. We are not talking about ZANU-PF in this forum. We are talking about wealth and poverty. And that's the subject of the day. So T's here, let's not reduce the discussion to be a personal one. If one associates or one's associated with ZANU-PF, that what has that to do with anyone? People have a right to associate and disassociate. When was the last time you made donations to ZANU-PF? I don't think it's any of your business. Constructive criticism is good. Don't overreact, please. Let's be mature and respect each other's views and stop personal attacks. Actually, energy at life is actually more complicated to waste it. All I want is for us to deal with the subject of the day so that we finish it. And those who want to learn can learn. There are many other platforms on social media. And people can set up theirs. It doesn't have to be on this platform. Vitalis Ngunde Vengesai, let's not live in the past. He might have made donation to ZANU-PF, but it's now a thing of the past. Let's hear what his thoughts are. This is what is important. Good day, sir. Let's go back to the topic of the day. Abigail Ngiwane. Thanks, Abigail. Samuel Maramba, thanks for coming. I think we had a lot more who wanted to hear the input of former Vice President of Zimbabwe. And Tinashe, he just refused to answer when was the last time he made a donation. You can ask ZANU-PF. If I help you, I don't keep a record of helping you. The one who is helped is the one who knows. The patient is the one who knows when he last visited the doctor, because he has to go and visit the doctor. If it's any of your interest, there is a record. I'm sure you have access to ZANU-PF. They'll give you the record if that's of interest to you. Seems a lot of assholes are commenting here today. Lisa Doolittle. You don't call them assholes. We all have asses, I guess. And it just so happens that some people think their asses are more important than others. Okay, Alan Mutuma says, let's go back to the topic of the day. Yeah, returning to the topic of the day, I'm curious about the possibility of being a successful business person and the need to somehow maintain good relations with the government of the day. Yeah, the topic of today is talking about whether wealth is the opposite of poverty. It has nothing to do with successful business or not, Albi. We'll deal with that on another occasion. Please read at the top. What is the topic of the day? And V. Mumbure says, give Mr. Mawere time to speak his mind. I don't think personal attacks will solve anything. It will never solve anything. You're right, V. It has never solved. So, Albi, you may have questions, as you must. There are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. But I thought from an earlier discussion, I posed the question whether wealth is the opposite of poverty. And that's the question that we're trying to address. Fortunately, this question was also posed to the former vice president who visited South Africa recently, and he addressed an investment conference. And it's instructive what former Vice President Mnangagwa said, because we need to draw lessons. A few weeks have elapsed. He is in a different condition today. He may not be able to repeat what he said, but at least he did address the question, and the question was posed. Those who didn't listen to the audio, please say why, so that I know there are people who haven't listened to it. Otherwise, I'll just give you the link and you can then deal with it. Those who want to go through this audio to draw some lessons before we can get into a meaningful discussion, please say yes, so that either I can play it from end to end, then we discuss after playing it, or play, stop, so that we pick up the points, we pick out the question, and then we can pick up the answer. So guide me to be able to navigate through these complex issues. Okay, so I get Muzenda, Rangarira, Lord Mo Karanda, Jason Maposa, yes. I enjoy listening to you, Mr. Mawarire. Unfortunately, I'm not Mawarire. I am Mawere. There are other people who share the name Mawarire, and I'm not one of them. And I wish this platform was not a discussion, but you sharing and the discussion later. Abigail Tracy Ngiwani, yes. Anyone else who want the proposed format, so that I can play, stop, and I add my voice into it. Jikora Joe says, in the interest of time, please just send out the link. So those who want the link, say no, so that I can count and see whether the no's have it or the yes have it. Courage Wazingenyama following. So I wait for your guidance. I have a no from Chigora. Joe, do I have another no? Robert, my apologies, Mr. Mawere. Play, stop, Lord Mokaranda. Abigail, no. Kuyo, no. Chigora, John, no. Jason Maposa, no. So I got 3 no's, and I think so far 5 yeses. Stanley Mukumbira, yes. I need the link to Robert, no. James Mugere, no. So democracy is at work. So I'll close in 1 minute and then count. If the no's have it, fine. If the yes, so at exactly 4:15, I'll send the link. So there is play the clip. Okay, so let me post the link, then I'll play it, because it appears that there are more people who want to listen and learn, because we can hurry and yet we will not achieve much. So democracy is at work. So I've posted the link on Zimbabwe Today. So I'll pin it so that those who want to have a listen to it can also listen when they wish to do so. So, okay. So I'll also post it on the other. So I also get yeses on the other side. So it's there is so let me post on the other. Tafara Mariba Bachi, welcome. Do you want to be added to the conversation? Okay. Makwerere, what can we do to change the status of poverty, especially in Southern Africa, consider the fact that our revolutionary parties don't do much to improve the status of life in the poor countries? Okay, I think let me play the audio so that we also learn from the wisdom of former President, Vice President Mnangagwa. So let's do that quickly so that we get on with it.
For the opportunity to inviting myself and my that the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but it is the rule of law. So that being said, this listener stated, absent.
Okay, let me start again.
Firstly, I would like to thank Mr. Anil Ndlovu for the opportunity to inviting myself and my organization to this forum. And I would like to thank the VP, Comrade Mnangagwa, and the other delegates that came from Zimbabwe. My name is Tinashe Mpasiri. I'm actually a presenter with the 1873 FM, an initiative of a member-based association network called the 1873 Network. So some of the questions that I have here are questions that I posed to Mr. Anil Ndlovu on a radio interview, but he could not answer them. He stated that the VP and his delegation will be able to answer them. So some of the listeners had these questions to ask. The gentleman once remarked that the opposite of poverty is not wealth, but it is...
So, he said the gentleman once remarked that the opposite of poverty is not wealth,
the rule of law.
but the rule of law. That was the question.
Absent the rule of law, development is a mirage. What is it?
Absent the rule of law, development is a mirage. So, Makwere, what you are saying is that for us to be able to change this status called poverty, or whatever we describe it, what is required? Jason Maposa said these men don't have any wisdom. Why now? Why didn't he show it before Mugabe closed his door? That is Jason Maposa. I'm not sure what... We are not here to discuss Vice President Mnangagwa. No, that's not... We just wanted to get his take on this intersection between poverty and wealth. And it's not the man that we are talking about. We want to hear his worldview, his mindset, because this was a question, and he did provide an answer.
On that. And the other question that was posed, why invest in a country where native-born persons are running away, or investors like Makamba can't even step in? And another question that...
So the other question asked, because the vice president then was trying to invite, ignite, inspire people to consider Zimbabwe as a investment destination. And the question was, why would people invest in a country where its native-born people can't even step into it, are located outside, that this brain trust, if we one can call it, is now domiciled outside Zimbabwe when it could be in the country. Now he's inviting other people to invest without dealing with the causes why people would consider crossing the border outward rather than coming into Zimbabwe. This was the question.
In the group pertaining to ZACC, which is an institution that is addressing or trying to addressed this scourge called corruption, they asked whether ZACC is a partisan institution.
So the other question was whether the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is a partisan institution or a national institution. That was the third question posed to the then vice president, which is only a few months ago, which is a few weeks ago, when he came to South Africa.
Honorable Vice President, this speaker, Mr. Mbasiri, who angers a certain radio station, he had three questions. The first one, he was at pains to try to link the rule of law and economic development.
So the convener or the director of programs then did his own summary. He says the speaker was at pains trying to link rule of law and poverty.
I'll do the first one first. He is correct. Where there's no rule of law, where there's no peace, where there's no order, development cannot thrive.
So the vice president then, that was his take. He says the questioner is right. There is a positive relationship between the rule of law and the absence of poverty. That generally societies where there is no rule of law, poverty will always be a friend. And where there's no peace, where there's no law and order, respect for the rights of the individual, poverty will always be a friend. And if you don't cure that, you can try, you can do a sellotape job where there's a leak, you just put a sellotape, but still you will not be able to deliver the promise of generalized prosperity and generalized happiness, generalized freedom to choose. That's what the then vice president was saying.
Because there'll be conflict. Fortunately, in our region, we have little spots of conflict here and there, but in the main, there is peace. In Zimbabwe, we are peaceful. We observe the rule of law.
He says in Zimbabwe, at the time, Zimbabwe is peaceful and there is respect of the rule of law. And in the region, in the Southern African region, the same description applies. Yet only a few weeks later, he's the one to run away from a country where he was telling other people to invest. Come to Zimbabwe. Now, if you had come on the back of his promise and undertaking, what will you be saying today in Zimbabwe? That's how things can change quickly.
In Zimbabwe. And what are the tenets of the rule of law? Those who commit crime will arrest.
Those who commit crime, he says, we arrest. But if he did commit a crime in Zimbabwe, he can't be arrested because he's no longer in Zimbabwe. But he was telling people that things are normal in Zimbabwe. Bring your money, bring your investment, nothing will visit you. Only a few weeks later,
They go to courts, some get discharged, some are sentenced to prisons, and there were prisons full with such.
he says the prisons are full already with criminals. And therefore Zimbabwe system, the justice system, actually is working. That's what he felt then.
Another tenet is that we must always submit ourselves as government to elections every 5 years, and that we have complied with for the last 38 years when we became independent. That's constitutionalism.
So he says in Zimbabwe there is constitutionalism. If anything, the government of Zimbabwe is legitimate because it derives its power from the will of the people. And there have been regular, frequent elections in Zimbabwe. And those elections have produced outcomes. And those outcomes are consistent.
We lost thousands, tens and tens of thousands of our brothers and sisters the same in South Africa. For us to be where we are today, so that we have democracy in the country.
So he says the people died for this promise of constitutionalism. And Zimbabwe, over the last 38 years, has delivered the promise that the government of the day did not come from the ballot, from the bullet, but from the ballot. And the same is the case in South Africa and other neighboring states. So effectively,
yes, of course, we have constraints sometimes of implementing the ideals which we have as a result of resources and as a result of sanctions that have been imposed on us.
So he then says the only problem that Zimbabwe faces is this elephant in the room called sanctions. That sanctions are the reason why there may have been some missteps, mishaps, and if it's folly, it's because of externalities. It's because of this demon called sanctions.
We feel we should not be constrained by the sanctions by those who do not want to see Africa develop, those who do not want Africans to develop. So we are now saying we will rise, and we will rise.
So he's saying we will rise in spite of what? Of sanctions. But he didn't anticipate that a few weeks later, he will fall himself.
Together, no one will stop us from rising.
Now, for those who believe in the G40, he was not aware that G40 will be standing in front of him on a roadblock, telling him, time up. At this stage, he was a foot soldier. And people are clapping.
Honorable Vice President, was this narrative, why should we go and invest in a country whose natives are running away from?
The person is not aware why people are leaving Zimbabwe. Before 2000.
So first he's telling the questioner that you are not aware why people are leaving Zimbabwe.
1999. No one was leaving Zimbabwe. We're happy. We're developing. But immediately we implemented land reform. And listen very carefully. We had a duty as leadership to make sure that at the expiry of the Lancaster Constitution, where it had provisions that for the next 10 years, 10 years or so, we were not allowed to make legislation to acquire land. Anyway, to abide by that. In 1992, after the expiration of 10 years, I became Minister of Justice. And I was given the mission to bring legislation to approve.
Okay, so you hear what he's saying. He's saying this narrative that he's not answering the question in short. He was asked specifically, why would somebody invest in the knowledge that people born in Zimbabwe are no longer welcome in Zimbabwe? Yet the vice president is asking people born outside Zimbabwe to come and invest in Zimbabwe. Now he's talking about sanctions. He's talking about things that were not asked.
Land. So we married the land with their legitimate owners. And legitimate owners be married to their land. And we did that. That offended those who were holding our land, the British colonial settlers in our country. That's the basis on which they imposed sanctions on us. Overnight, Mr. Shinamas will be very articulate on that subject. Overnight, the lines of credit, balance of payments were cut by over 48% overnight. Projects which were running at the time came to a standstill. We lost jobs, we lost everything. There was attack on our currency and so on. So that was one of the reasons, the major reasons why people left the country. Now, if you say, why should we invest in a country? Those who still feel that they are afraid of coming into Zimbabwe, no one will be forced to come to Zimbabwe. We are appealing to those who are understanding, who are patriotic, who think that although they are South Africans, Zimbabwe is part of them. They will come to Zimbabwe. It's a peaceful country. They will choose that there. They will have returned to their capital. So that is the answer I give you, my brother.
So he doesn't answer at all the question that was posed. Simply, why would one invest in a country that doesn't even recognize, respect the people born there? They may have little money. And he's talking about sanctions, a question that was never answered. And people are clapping.
His other question, the last one from him, was, is ZAC, the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, a practicing institution? What? A practicing institution, or is just a practicing?
Okay.
Practicing.
Now, how was it created?
So the question is ZAC a partisan institution? And this is the answer from the former vice president.
So that you can make your own judgmental conclusion whether it's partisan or not. In terms of our legislation, we advertise for persons to apply to become commissioners into ZAC. And we use our parliament to do the interview and selection. So many people applied. I think we had over 56 people who want to be commissioners, but I think we only did 9 or 11. That was the number of commissioners. The process was done by Parliament, and from those who applied, Parliament selected the best from the applicants to constitute the commission. I don't know where partisanship comes in, but if it comes in, then if we identify it, we deal with it. So far, we have not discovered the partisanship in it. It is an act which administers, which guides the operations of ZAC in the country. And also, the act is also administered in the office of the president. And I don't believe that the president is partisan. He's the president of the whole country.
For the benefit of our listeners, can you briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself?
So there you have it. According to the former vice president, actually he saw no evil, had no evil. And all the evil that men do, he only saw it through sanctions. Then Vitalis Zungunde Vengesai, politicians always say there's rule of law, even if there is no rule of law. It's not just politicians. Human beings have a tendency sometimes to see the glass is half full when it's half empty. They don't see it because they don't know anything about it, because everything works for them. I hear the former vice president Mnangagwa is now being investigated for possible crimes, among them attempted murder, money laundering. Why now? All along they were aware of this, but he was untouchable because of his position. It raises eyebrows. So you can see that where there is no rule of law, there will always be a problem. Tony Murphy says, hey, courage, what Zingenyama. We have a good example of Mr. Masiwa, who always finds it difficult to start any investment in his homeland. The former vice president refused to answer it all. If he did refuse, if he didn't understand the question was repeated for him to hear it twice, yet still decided to ignore it. Tisia, this is the reason why capital is shy to be in Zimbabwe, is corruption. Rule by law, as rules are made to expropriate property from targeted property owners, this makes capital flight even more, even from native black entrepreneurs. And Aliko Dangote had interest to invest in Zimbabwe, but he aborted his plans because of the exodus of emerging black businessmen who ran away to invest in countries where their capital is protected by rule of law. Abigail Giwani says, Mr. Mnangagwa was supposed to say, the reason why Zimbabweans are leaving their own land of birth is because opportunities are not created for them. Okay, so let's go back to the topic of the day. Where there is no rule of law, imagine you work hard in the animal kingdom and you earn $20,000, out of which you only need $5,000 to live for the month. Now you have $15,000 that will see you through another bed patch in your life. You stole that $15,000. Somebody stronger than you, a strong man, comes with a little gun and says, I know you were 15,000 in your house. Make it easy for me. Just open the safe, give me the money, and you live longer. Then you look around and you see that it's a real gun, not a toy. Then you say to yourself, I have two choices. Take a gamble with my life, or just do as ordered. You then open the safe, give up your hard-earned wealth or value, and the person takes off. Would you work? And there are no consequences because there is no police station, there are no courts. All the courts are packed with people who have agendas as well, who are collecting money. Prosecutors also happen to be tax collectors. The only difference is the collected source. If you don't pay, you don't get justice. And the 15,000 is gone. You have no money even to hire a lawyer. There you are. What would come into your mind? To work hard again, only to arrive at the same destination tomorrow? Or to say, no, this is not for me. I would rather go somewhere else where I can earn less. But at least I know that what I have earned, I can keep, I can spend as I wish. So if you are poor and you see the rich being treated that way, would you want to be rich? Would you want to be wealthy if after having worked so hard, you only lose it to somebody who says, I'm here to harvest the fruits of your labor? What would you do? That is the challenge. And this is what we need to be able to think, reflect, and apply our minds. Imagine all the rich people lived as if they are poor. Would the poor want to be rich? Nyeruke wagia. Muchinda wokuzaka iwe. Now I'm defined by Zaka. This is how simple, how uncomplicated we become. What time are you going to sleep? If I don't sleep, would that make you sleep better? You were live all night. If I was live all night, does that bother you? And you are still live today. What has that got to do with you, whether I'm dead or alive? The Mnangagwa saga must have shaken many and you into reality. There is no reality. It's not Mnangagwa saga. It's you, what you are saying, that shocks me every day. Worry less about other people, but worry about yourself. You in Tawanema BP, strategy is needed. You may have BP, sort out your BP. If strategy is needed, please negotiate with others. I'm just expressing my views. That's not strategy. That's just sharing. This Facebook is just a book of faces. Twitter, just tweet. Don't convert Twitter into strategy. WhatsApp, connections. Use connections to reach out to other people. Gwena and company is just a matter of sour grapes. The issue is now, how can we salvage the dying economy? Tony Mofu, how can we, or how can I don't think we can salvage through internet, through Facebook Live. I think if we don't get in to understand what is it that creates wealth, then there is no need to talk to you. Ideas are more important than what you think. Ideas are plenty, but we need people with goodwill. Where is the goodwill to come? I mean good track record. Where is good track record to come? If you're looking for a future president in Zimbabwe, the only one with a track record is one man. So you must accept that Zimbabwe has got zero track record. And the question is, do you need to have a track record to be a president? And if so, what is the job of a president? And you don't want to talk about those things. You want these big strategies, big scenarios. Without the foundation, a house built on sand will never last. So I do hope that you pause, reflect, think. You got a mind. This is not about Gwena and Kamba. This is about being able to understand why one will be wealthy, others not. One country will be classified as wealthy, another one is poor. Why? When we are all human beings. Human beings can fly into a country that is so-called wealthy, pick themselves up from nothing, become somebody. Others who stay in a country so-called rich with mineral resources, stay there and see the quality of life deteriorate every day. How do you explain those conditions? Makuwerere Chauna, can we say because we are in a transitional period, moving away from the pioneers of revolution to bring back land and independence, then maybe we can now sit down as our new generation to know what's the way forward? How can we develop our communities with the resources we have? I said yesterday and this morning that resources are made outside the creativity and ingenuity of man. What does that mean? That means all the things required to live life, except the human mind and the body and everything that comes with it, were created before we were born. We are born into this treasure, but that treasure means nothing without the human mind. It is us who give character and personality to the gifts of nature. So assume land was there before the government of Zimbabwe. Surely do you need to associate the government of Zimbabwe and its actors with something that was already given for free? Land was given, was created, and it was made common to all. If it was meant to be given and then be given again in turn, then the Creator would have created land and permanently fixed it, or created title deeds for a certain period, people in government. I don't believe that anyone in government has got a better claim on the fruits of nature, on the gifts of nature, including your talent. You can leave the country and use your talent to earn a living. That is your talent converted into some other form of value. If you have nothing in you, nobody will give up anything to get what you are giving. Jason Maposa. Mr. Mawere, I know that you are good in business. I don't know. You think you know. I am just a human being like you. So in your perspective, what can be done to renew the status of our country? What I just told you, that the difference between poverty and wealth has to be understood. If you want the country of Zimbabwe to have human beings who are happy, who have something to show for their labor, who are dynamic, who are progressive, and who are prosperous. Without the building blocks, what we are talking about, the rule of law, constitutionalism, respect for private property rights, the rights of persons, if that is missing, there is nothing that you can do. There is no other perspective that will deliver the promise of what life intends for you. But as it stands, Mr. Mawere, can you develop ourselves and improve ourselves now, because we control the resources we have politically? We cannot control something that was given for free. All we have is to convert it into a usable form. The resources that lie in the earth's belly were created outside men, not for them to be appropriated to a man. Yes, administratively, we can issue with a title deed, whatever. But to convert land into a crop, it's not automatic. It's not whether you're black or white. A seed will always be a seed. It cannot be a black seed or white seed. So all I'm saying, Tichaona, first let's look at the fundamentals of what we need to secure the future that we want. Let's not look at how do we jump into first class when we are not even in the economy cabin. TCA says, generally, people generally are not empathetic to the plight of the rich. It's not even the plight of the rich, just understanding the rich. If I have to climb a steep mountain, I will sweat. But the people who see me at the pinnacle of it, and they are in the valley, they actually may think that I took an elevator. And they actually may invest in the PhD syndrome, pull him or pull her down, because they actually think it's so easy, because it looks so easy, because it occurs outside the four corners of your own life. So what you know may not be what it is. People generally view the rich with suspicion, as evil, greedy, and corrupt. Not only the rich, even the people they have elected. You elect me today to be your counselor. The next day you are viewing me with evil, with this suspicion, superstition. That's why the poor associate money with evil. They even think money is value when money itself is not value. Imagine you are on your deathbed and I deposit 1 billion into your account. What would be the value of that 1 billion to you? How many people glorify knowledge? Cash itself means nothing if there's no one willing to accept it in exchange of something. That's why most journalists don't report much about losses from the rich and injustice. Even me, when even it's injustice, people don't want to delve into the facts. Some people even say, Mawere, you are beneficiary of ZANU-PF. Therefore, the end justify the means. So this is what it is. And yet there's nobody who can tell you the story of SMM better than the people who have lived it. And I happen to be one of them. Then I'm being told now, insulted, ridiculed, humiliated. Why are you on air? Why don't you sleep? Don't tell us. We know already. How many of these pseudo-professors sit in judgment of facts they know nothing about? You were chased away from Zimbabwe. So if I was chased, go to the house where I was and say, that's where you were, now you are here. They don't do that. They don't deal with the facts, but they would rather pontificate and hallucinate, sitting on their chairs, thinking the future will be more secure if they invested more in this hyperbole. They would rather report on such issues with mockery and indifference. That's what you see when you say, let's talk about SMM. Let's do it. There are few takers. All they talk about, what does it take to renew the country? How do you renew something that is broken? If it's broken, accept it's broken. If it was never there, accept it was never there. But then these people say, Mawere, tell us. When it was Mawere, whose companies were emasculated, they said, no, it's Mawere. Even Mnangagwa, a few weeks ago, was talking about Zimbabwe being the citadel of the rule of law, where people respect each other. If you go to him today, if you go to Mrs. Mujuru, she says, I was ill-treated. By who? By Mugabe. Yet without Mugabe, what would she be? There are very few poor blacks who advocate for rule of law and security of capital. Because if I don't know what capital is, what wealth is, then what? If I don't have to go to point B, why do I need a car? I'm just a subsistence farmer. Why do I need a silo? Why do I need a granary? Why do I need anything? Because I can subsist. That is the problem. We don't have visionary lobbyists to protect capital. We don't have people with interest. Because it is only interest. I can't talk of a shareholder when I have never held shares. I can't talk of a director when I have never been a director. Everyone wins when capital is not threatened. Capital is value, Tisia. The value that you have not consumed is real value. But people don't understand what you are saying, Tisia. And that's why we say, let's have a citizenship university. Not only talk about Bill of Rights, but to talk about the Bill of Responsibilities. That we are enjoined, we are compelled to learn even about corporate matters. Not because we like to, but because if we want to go to the top of the mountain, and we are in the valley of poverty, despair, hopelessness, then we have to know what it takes to be where we want to go. We have to talk to those who have been there and to despise them and to silence them so that they never say what really is in their minds, because they are afraid of small minds that terrorize the cyber world, that can have verbal diarrhea and spit whatever they want to spit, because to them the end is near. They have never seen the bright lights, therefore nobody should see them. Lord Mokaranda says Maslow's hierarchy of needs to be understood by this politician. Maslow's hierarchy of needs to be understood by all, Lord Mo. Just understand, today's poor man is tomorrow's president. Today's prisoner is tomorrow's state president. We have seen it in our lifetimes. Mandela, one day is a terrorist, one day is a prisoner. The next day is His Excellency. He is a celebrity. He signs autographs. He never applied to be one. So we are human first before we become anything else. Good, Hendrik Viakonda. Good points. But my brothers Zimbabweans need to do more to get their country back in progress. They don't have to do anything more, because I've seen people with nothing leave Zimbabwe with nothing. Nothing in their name. A few years later, I meet them. They tell me their story. Eloquent stories. It's just we don't have space to tell them. To exchange these beautiful stories. They sound so well that, Hendrik, if you were to listen to these amazing stories, not just inside Zimbabwe, under Mugabe, outside Zimbabwe, people who staked against all odds and who climbed these mountains, rough mountains, and you see them at the top and you think they just walked. If only you could salute them and have a platform where we can salute these people. You will discover, even President Mugabe will discover that actually the best story of Zimbabwe is yet to come. Because the stories are already there of resilience, of perseverance, except nobody knows about these people. They don't have big names. Only a few years ago, when I bought Shabana in Mashaba Mine, the first article that was written was that an unknown businessman, unknown. And that was the best story in my life. That from an underdog, from an unknown, because there are other people who were known. But history and destiny said otherwise, that I should be the person. Isn't it amazing, grace? That those who don't deserve that grace are the beneficiaries of it. The only difference is that we don't know who they are, because we are not willing to just give up some of our time to listen to these stories, to listen to the whispers of tomorrow, because the ghosts of yesterday are what preoccupies our minds. Yes, you were ZANU-PF. Yes, you donated money to ZANU-PF. Yes, water spilled yesterday. Yes, milk spilled yesterday. That is what seems to preoccupy ourselves. Let's talk about Mugabe. There will be 100,000 people talking about Mugabe, insulting him. That is the challenge we face. And only this morning, I was talking to somebody. It's only good to share. Those who want me to share just my conversation with somebody, for you just to see how complex, how impossible it is to open the space for new stories. And the people who are in the media are actually the very people who are not willing to think outside the box they create for themselves. They don't want. They want to talk about where Mnangagwa is, not to talk about how Mnangagwa managed to get cash when other people didn't get cash. The relationship between Mnangagwa and money. The relationship between Mnangagwa and even white people. The relationship between Mnangagwa and the people in the diaspora, in the country, in the party. Just as a human being, the reality of Mnangagwa. Who was he? Then Little Sansol says, Mr. Mawe, why is an otherwise intelligent person as you allowing yourself to be used to push the G40 agenda of Zimbabwe today? I don't know what a G40 agenda is. I don't think I'm intelligent. I'm just average as you are, Little. But you have chosen now to put a motive into what I am doing, as if I'm not a person at all. To you, I'm a caricature of somebody else. You yourself, you have what? You have you are a principal, because you have chosen to call yourself a principal. Now you can judge me. Stop and have a look at the editorial policy of this ZANU-PF front, or maybe you are willingly part of it. I don't even know who Zimbabwe today is. Never met them. All I got an approach is, Mr. Mawere, we listen to you, we hear you. Can you consider coming on our platform to share? I said, as long as it's a platform that people can use and we can connect, we can equip each other with knowledge that we don't have. We can inspire. I don't care what road it is, as long as it takes me somewhere. I don't care, like Deng Xiaoping said, what the color of the mouse is, whether it's black or white, as long as it catches the mouse. Perhaps for you, the color of the mouse is more important than the job it does. Who cares who is G40? If my views are not mine, then I'm betraying myself. I'm cheating myself. But for you to accuse me without just cause, that what I'm saying is not coming from me, but an extension of some other human being, I think that is the beginning of the end. That is what causes problems, that we all too often we live in glass houses. And we think we alone have the right and privilege to point fingers at others. Who am I to judge? Let ideas contest ideas. Let us not reduce each other to agents of others. When we are born alone, we die alone. If I agree with you, it doesn't mean I become you. I agree with you only on the point in question. On other points, we may disagree, as we should be. But then for you, Litha, to be Litha with your mouth, with your pen, to say otherwise intelligent, as if you are the best person to judge what intelligence is and what it is not. How many other intelligent people are not on Facebook Live? Do you know them? Why can't we treat each other as human beings? We are all different, we are all unique, and we are diverse. Imagine we all thought the same way. Would that be beneficial or desirable? To collapse all of us into a box called G40. Then what do we become in that box? Human beings? That when I eat on behalf of G40? I eat on behalf of Lacoste? Let us be honest to ourselves. Let us respect ourselves to be respected by others. I'm a complete human being. There is no fraction of me. I cannot be discounted by anybody. I cannot be part of something I don't know. Even if G40 existed, it exists for the people who consent to its existence. Doesn't exist to me who is outside it. So don't put me in a box. My mind doesn't fit in anyone's box. And I believe yours as well. If you've got a mind of your own, study your mind and think carefully whether your mind can be subordinated to another. If so, tell us, share with us your experience with this dehumanization project that you intend to import into social media, so that you alone can be the person who knows what it means to be human. Let's get off these high horses. Let's walk like other people are walking, on foot, not high-heeled shoes. That we become judges. We become little gods. We know who is who. Makwere Chauna, we can't beat poverty if we can respect each other. Even on the social media platform too. Because that's where we can learn to listen to each other as a community. Every community, every family has individuals as its keystone. There cannot be human existence without it. The subject is poverty. Who is poor? Nobody is poor. Nobody was created to be poor, because everything required to live a good life, Makwere, was already provided, not by men. I can't even make an apple, even if I wanted to. I can't make an orange. I can't create even an egg. Who am I? A man of flesh like me. Now pretend to be something I'm not. I'm limited because I'm human. I can't solve something. But in us, poor or rich, as long as you are a human being, you are already injected, infested with the same powers of humanity that everybody else has. The power to reason, the power of free will. I can take a donkey to the river, but I can't make it drink. I can't make a human being do something that they don't want to do. For somebody then to accuse me, to say I give up my time to advance the interests of some amorphous group called G40, whatever it is. This is where the rot starts. It starts in the mind. To entertain that kind of idea is very poor. If that's what poverty means, it is that idea that is so poor, but so pervasive, that it has become so democratized that is now used as currency. Oh, so and so, you are Mnangagwa's man, you are so and so. Yeah? So I think I've asked, do you want to listen to a conversation that I had this morning? Those who want to listen, just type Y, because I don't want to bore you. I'm about to close so that I can give you another context, just an ordinary conversation, just for you to understand how complex a simple problem can be when human beings are concerned, because we complicate things. We can't take Mugabe to be Mugabe, Grace to be Grace. Jason, I hear you. If you are interested, please let me know. Time is not on our side. Just type Y. Taurai nation atinyatsonzwa point yenyu. Yeah, if you want Shona, I've chosen to speak in English because there are people who don't need to listen in Shona. Some don't understand. Some are born outside Zimbabwe, but they share Zimbabwean heritage. So I am not a person who wants to limit conversations. If you don't understand it, fine. You don't have to listen. You can always take a break and listen to the things you understand. But surely let's try to democratize knowledge. And English has worked well for many other people, not just for us. So that we broaden the space rather than limit it. Because Zimbabwe is not a Shona problem. The minerals that are there, the gold you get, the copper, the diamonds, they are not called Zimbabwean diamonds. They are diamonds. So I wouldn't want to say a carat or an ounce, a kg in Shona. So let me play.
Because they all lobby for different ideas of what Zimbabwe should be like. Let's understand what is Mnangagwa's idea. Mnangagwa's idea is that all vets must be the principles. That Zimbabwe is all something to them. Is that his position? That whoever is in government can use it for whatever they want to use it for. And what is the difference between Grace's view and Mnangagwa's view? If those are the two people. And what is Mugabe's view? So there are three parties. Let's not assume that husband and wife are one party in matters of politics. But why should our narratives be based on suppositions? So the reality is not of concern. But Grace has her own reality. Mnangagwa must have his own reality. Informed by whatever he knows. And Mugabe must have his own reality. That may be different from all these other people. Yeah. So how do we then assume that our chosen reality is the only reality available? What we do know is that Mugabe can be induced to change his views. And can be managed by interface rallies. And people can create a stage for him. When he comes from outside the country, they create one at the airport. When he goes to Politburo, they create one at the HQ. And these tactics have worked before Mnangagwa became one to be fried. So now from the interface, they now have universities. So it's now a perpetual.
And then airport.
Airport is a stage. Everywhere they know who he is. He loves people. He loves to talk to a crowd. So the idea is whoever creates a crowd will have the last say. So if Mnangagwa was allowed to create his own movement, there will be two competing crowds. But he is now given one which is one crowd. What if people were paid to boo and Mnangagwa had no idea who was booing?
Hey, that one was classic, man.
No, I'm saying is, what if we explored that? Why would Mnangagwa go to a rally and ask people to boo? And what if Mnangagwa had not come and say, I'm not feeling well? Huh? So there are many other conversations that can be engaged.
I'm trying to see if I can get some extra bits of his location. I think it will make a big program. It will make a good program. If I can get some bits on where exactly he is.
That's your job to find it. But I'm saying is that whether it's found or not, what will add by, to you, I think it may add to the sensation, yes. But what property value do you gain from? He is out of the country, he's not in Zimbabwe, that's fact. Where he is not a fact. And so we can't wait for him to be found. Because then we are actually building a narrative or creating another Kamuzu Banda. So we can create all these stories, but the end game is but from what you see, what should be the end game? Because the elections are going to take place.
The end game is Grace is getting in there, whether he likes it or not.
No, it may not be the end game. No, I'm saying is it may not be the end game, but we have assumed that our end game is your end game. What if it is not? What are the alternative scenarios? What if Mugabe says now that Mnangagwa is gone, let's unite the party? Because nobody wants to take over anything from me. So I'm not under threat. I thought I was under threat. But it was just one lonely guy. What if Mnangagwa is sending emissaries to Mugabe?
Yeah.
So there are many plausible scenarios that we are ignoring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what other life has Mnangagwa had for the last 37 years? So you never know. It could be another president saying, Mnangagwa, I talked to my chief. I'll talk to the president. I understand what is this.
What about the collusion? I think one thing maybe when we do a discussion, I wanted to also to hear from you your postulation, extrapolation of the relationship between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga. Is that real?
No.
Or it's just newspaper?
No, you are creating something that is not. Chiwenga had reason to believe that Mnangagwa was his senior. And that Mnangagwa would say things to Mugabe. Because they all may be involved in the same enterprise of deception.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they are all involved in that, right now you may find that Chiwenga is on the opposite side. Yeah. Going to the president and say, President, I didn't know this man was doing this. I thought you were together. How can I even contemplate taking you on? Who am I? Without you, I'm nobody. You made me somebody. And how can I betray you? Now you may be saying, Mnangagwa should have managed your affairs well. Now you are entangling all of us in this mess. Huh? We thought you had sorted out the politics. These are our young people. So we thought this is manageable. So you assured us that you were managing it at the top level.
Yeah.
What happened? Did you ask these people to boo the first lady? If so, why? Why was it necessary? When you are already in as vice president. Why boo? Why talk about poison? Why talk about this unnecessary? So loyalties change. And people become afraid to talk to you anymore. Because they also have something to hide. Because look at most of these guys entered into government with zero, like we all enter human society with nothing. So everything they have is a consequence of Mugabe being at the top. And they know the suffering of the majority. Because they live with it. They know it. It's unlike Mugabe, who has to be in prison there 24 hours. So they have a glimpse of reality. Whereas Mugabe has no capacity to know what you know. Even to know the same eye. He has no capacity unless someone brings it to him. Say, President, these guys are going to come on. This is just a channel for gossip. Yeah. And just a trigger to vomit anything they get. So, do you really believe these guys? So here, mechanism. That newspaper in George Soros. The other one is so it so. The other one so it so. Oh, my way is so it so. You understand?
Yeah.
So when you go to Chiwenga now to ask, where do you stand? He says, well, President, I don't know who Mnangagwa is anymore. Where is he? Huh? Why did he have to run away? Meanwhile, he's trying to phone Chiwenga to say, Chiwenga, please go and talk to the president about me. Says, but there's a press statement. Says, which press statement? I don't even know anything about it. Says, it's circulating. Did you do it? No, look at the signature. It's not my signature. And say, okay, if that is the case, so let me find what I can do. I'll go and tell the president. I say, look, Mnangagwa is so grateful for your stewardship, for your guidance for all these years. He has no intention whatsoever. And yet the opposition are saying, Yes, Mnangagwa is going to be this, that, that. They are giving a lot of words. Mnangagwa has never said that. So all these people who are talking on behalf of Mnangagwa have been destroying his name. Because you then say, President, I have not issued a press statement. I have not said anything against you. And I have no intention whatsoever of being in a dispute with you. I'm not like you. I'm done through and through. If I'm disciplined, I've been disciplined before, and I have never been proud or arrogant about anything. Why would you doubt now that I'm part of this whole shenanigans? Yeah. As long as you are alive, I will never want, but all we were talking about is who can assist President. And when you appointed me, I've done the best I could with the means available. And I thought I was doing it in the national interest. But I can't force you to trust me, to believe in me. But loyalty can never be in doubt. Deception, why would I deceive you? If you think I've deceived you, I want to come and explain whatever. Give me an opportunity. I couldn't answer at a rally. I couldn't answer my apostle. You remember Ngomo left as a woman. Hello?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's a lady who just published an article just now about that.
About what?
About
Ngomo.
About that issue of Ngomo.
Yeah. So Ngomo left, just but did he come back and become vice president?
No.
He did.
Oh, eventually.
Yeah, but there were people who went in between and negotiated. Huh? So, President, we are closer to elections. Why do it now?
So you think maybe I don't know
I'm saying is life is not as straightforward as you think.
Can I quote you on that one?
No, we are saying, Zimba, let's examine plausible alternatives and scenarios, and let's test all these hypotheses and us just like cattle come into a conclusion.
Yeah.
And working on one conclusion. And we don't have all the facts. Yeah.
There you go. I hope it made sense and clarified some of the questions that you also may have. And on that note, I can only say thank you for the people who listened. Hope you found it of value. And obviously, we will come back and, as I promised, at 9 p.m., where we talk about the Reconstruction Act, the Reconstruction of State Indebted Insolvent Companies Act. Those who want to know more about SMM events and affairs, I think it's time to get into it so that we all may share what we know and not assume that we know, that the other people know what we know. Thank you very much.